Welcome to Mike Gets Mad at Copyright, a stream that will be running most weeks on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central. The purpose of this stream is going to be in general to talk about some of the many issues, I'm not going to run short of material, that have turned copyright law into this utter disaster zone. This week, this first episode, what I'm starting with is something that's extremely topical at the moment. There's been a lot that's been going on in the news, even by 2020 standards, in the past week. A lot of that has involved things that people can catch on their cell phones. Very newsworthy events. Newsworthy up there with a volcano erupting under somebody's house kind of events. When that happens, people post it to social media. News organizations pay attention to what gets posted on social media, and if something that you took starts spreading far and wide, you may find yourself getting requests from news organizations to use your material in their shows. That's all well and good, but what we're starting to see is a lot of these news organizations are asking you to agree to things that go way beyond what you might expect. And that's where I'm getting angry. Because, okay, they want to put your thing on the news, that's cool. But what they're not telling you in the process, and what we're going to look at right now, are they want you to agree to these waivers where you're giving up way more rights than you might expect, and in some cases you're accepting responsibilities, in exchange for which you are going to get paid nothing. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go through 3 different releases that I've seen on Twitter in the last couple of weeks. One from NBC News, one from ABC News, and one from the Associated Press. They start kind of... The NBC one's probably not terrible. It's not great. The ABC one, you start to get into, oh, come on. And by the time we get to the Associated Press, it's like, no. Seriously, what are you doing? So we'll take a look at those. Before we start, I want to make a couple of things clear. First, this is not intended to provide you with legal advice that is specific to anything that's going on right now. What I want to explain to you is what your basic rights generally are in these situations, and why you want to probably be careful about giving up these rights unless you know exactly what you're letting go and exactly what you might be taking on. If the thing you've seen is important, if you still want the whole world to see it, letting the media use it might not be the worst thing. But definitely read what they're asking, know what they're asking, make informed choices, and don't be afraid to call lawyers. So what we're going to do right now is we'll start with something that we have seen coming from NBC with a video just last night. And let's take a look at this request, because this is what a lot of people don't generally realize, and this particular thing is not going out of its way to tell you, is, first of all, if you recorded the video, you probably own a copyright in that video. Things might get complicated if you're at work at the time. You still probably own it, but it might get complicated. Boss's phone, and all this and that. But in general, you own a copyright. You don't have to register in order to own that right. Even if you haven't registered, people cannot use it without your permission generally, unless it's a fair use or another exception applies. They need your permission. If you post it on social media, you still own the copyright. It does not become public domain just because you put it on Twitter. So they're asking you for permission to use your video here. That's fine. Not a big deal. But then take a look at the next thing. Across all platforms, they're not just asking for permission to use this on the 10 o'clock news. They're asking for permission to use it potentially use the sounds in a radio show. They're asking to use it on their websites. They're asking to potentially put it on the internet, on their site. And then the next thing that they have in there is, and to share with our affiliates. Share with our affiliates. Who are their affiliates? This is NBC. Potentially, what you're doing, if you say yes to that, you haven't just said yes to the local Channel 4 in New York City. You've said yes to the local news in Los Angeles. And you've said yes to the NBC National News. And you've potentially said yes to CNBC, MSNBC, and everybody else. They can let anybody else use it who they call their affiliates, and you've already said yes. They don't have to come back to you for more permission. With credit to you is a good news, bad news kind of thing. The good news is that out of the three releases that we're looking at tonight, NBC is the only one that's even going to give you that much. Nobody is offering to pay you, and only NBC is offering credit. On the flip side, something else a lot of people don't necessarily realize is that contracts do not have to be written in many pages of detail, and they don't necessarily need to be signed. So, with credit to you, you're getting something out of the deal also. If you go and object later, they're going to say, hey, we had a contract. Now, a decent lawyer might be able to get you out of it. Decent lawyer might be able to get you a little bit something. But you've potentially, by saying yes to that tweet, entered into a contract with NBC that gives them the right to sell your material to their other stations and not pay you. Nice, huh? That's the benign, and I do mean the most benign out of the three disclaimers that we're going to look at today. What else is going on? Let's look at ABC. ABC's disclaimer is definitely a little bit more detailed and a little bit more lawyer languaged and a little bit more, let's see, a little bit more, I'm trying to figure what the word is, jerky. It's a little bit more, all right. When you buy a video game, or you buy software, or you do whatever, here's the thing. You expect that you're going to have to click something. You say, I agree to these terms, and that's what's going on. By the way, for those of you who are in the chat, I really can't kind of answer or respond right now. But if you pop up an actual question, I'll try to get to those at the end. So, looking at what's going on with this ABC television disclaimer here, what we've got is lawyer language use. We've got, also though, they want you to actually click through and agree to terms and conditions. Now, when we're buying a video game, we never actually read the thing. But let's take a second on this one, because you're giving them something for free, and they're asking you to click through a contract to let them take something from you for free? Does that seem real? Does that seem reasonable? So let's see what you're agreeing to with this one. First one, you're agreeing to ABC and its licensees. Licensees might be even broader than the affiliates in the NBC one, because they might be able to just add new licensees anytime they want. They're also adding rights beyond the other ones. The other one had, this one has the all media, which is going to be the same as across all platforms. But where all NBC was asking was permission to use the video, ABC wants permission to edit it also. And we'll get to the terms for a minute. Now, maybe they're asking for this kind of thing because they're a Disney thing and we know Disney and copyright, but honestly, I could have probably pulled 2 or 3 more examples, and as we'll see in a second, AP is even worse. Now, as I said, if you want to spread the word on the thing you watched and you want to give them permission, that's fine. I would not, under any circumstances, reply yes without reading those terms. And let's see what they are. Oh, look, it's a whole page of terms that are hidden behind their little click wrap thing there. Now, apparently you don't have to fill out the form below, even though it says by filling out the form below. Maybe you're just agreeing to the bullet points, maybe you're not. By the way, none of these agreements are things that a lawyer is likely to actually tell you to agree to. When one of the reasons not real contracts, this could be a real contract, one of the reasons that properly drafted contracts go into a lot of detail is because when both sides are well represented, time gets taken to try to fill in ambiguities and things like that. This one, they're going to leave a lot of ambiguities in there because you think the ambiguities are going to favor you? I don't think so. So you're going to start on this one by confirming that you are the copyright owner, or the authorized agent, or that you own, purchased, or otherwise legally obtained the rights to the image or video. If you're not a professional photographer, if you're not a professional videographer, what are the odds that you know what those terms mean? And you confirm that you have all the necessary rights and permissions to grant to us this license for its use. Now, as we're going to see, things could get, and do get, a little bit more abusive with somebody else. But seriously, this is the kind of language where lawyer in me is sitting here going, I don't know. I'm thinking that if it turned out you're not the copyright owner, by the way, do not lie and say that you are the copyright owner. Because if that happens, you are just asking for a world of trouble. Because if the actual copyright owner comes along and sues ABC, and you have clicked through and confirmed that you are the copyright owner, yeah, the real copyright owner is going to go after ABC. But there's a really, really good chance when it comes to that lawsuit that you're going to be caught in the mix, and you do not want to be caught in the mix in a lawsuit. There's just not a chance you want to be in that mix. Now, the next thing that you find in this one is that you are agreeing that, in fact, it's not just the local news you're letting have these rights, it is ABC itself. So that's going to cover the national news and everything else. You're giving them permission to distribute to licensees, not limited to owned stations, affiliates, partners, licensees, and assigns for their use on all platforms in all media now known or hereafter developed, including without limitation. Hell with it. What they're asking you for, basically, is virtually every one of the rights that you have as a copyright owner. They're asking to be able to exercise those rights more or less as if they were you. They're not asking to be the only ones. They're asking to be able to let other people do it, though. Now, one of the things that means is that if your thing becomes actually popular enough or iconic enough, and we've seen iconic videos. We've seen the photograph of the guy in front of the tank in Tiananmen Square. It doesn't happen very often. It's rare. But if that does happen, and ABC wants to use that in a commemorative show or a recap show or anything else, guess what? They don't have to go back to you to get permission again or pay you. You already gave them permission in perpetuity worldwide to use your thing for free. And you've said that You will receive no payment or royalty for any use. They don't have to use it. You have no right to expect or approve any of their uses of it. And there's nothing in there that says they're even going to give you credit. Again, if you want to agree to something like this, that is your choice. But you do want to understand what you're getting yourself into, I think. And this is really only the second worst of these releases that I've seen. Now we're getting to the worst. Now we're getting to the Associated Press. Let's take a look at the AP on this one. We've got 2 paragraphs in this thing. By the way, here's how they present this one to you. You don't have to click to see this. They tweet the image at you and ask for permission and ask you to agree to these terms. Okay, that's a way to do things, I guess. Now, the first of the 2 paragraphs, and the Associated Press and its subsidiaries and affiliates shall have the worldwide non-exclusive right to, and all consents necessary to, use, reproduce, prepare derivative works of, edit, translate, distribute, publicly perform, and publicly display the content throughout the world in perpetuity by any and all means now known or hereafter created in all media now known or hereafter created. And AP shall further have the right to license these rights to others. They want it all. They want you to agree to give them... I mean, this is... If there are rights in there that you would still... It's non-exclusive, so you'd still have the right to license other people to do any of those things. But as far as I can tell, this gives the Associated Press every single one of the rights that might realistically be of any use commercially. And it gives them the right to sell those rights to others as if they were you. So that means in turn, let's say that everybody asks for permission to use it. You give everybody but one news station of, pick one you ideologically don't like. You tell them no. They can turn around, go to AP, pay AP, and AP will let them use it, and there's not a thing you can do about it in that case. And that's not the only thing they're asking. Take a look at the second paragraph on this. That you are the copyright owner or the copyright owner's authorized agent, and that you are fully entitled to grant these rights in favor of AP, and there is no agreement or other restriction preventing this grant of rights. By the way, you're getting barraged with these requests. You don't read them closely. Somebody slips something in one of the other requests that says exclusive license instead of non-exclusive license, and you got a problem with that particular there is no agreement or other restriction, potentially. So if you haven't read everything, you're really asking for trouble at that point. And it keeps going. You agree to indemnify and hold harmless the AP and its licensees from and against any claims, losses, liabilities, damages, costs that... This is the kind of license... Come on. Who drafted? This is the kind of wording that gives lawyers a bad reputation. Any claims, losses, liabilities, damages, costs, and expenses... They just threw the thesaurus at the paragraph, arising from any breach or alleged breach of these representations and warranties. Let's be really clear here. This is bonkers. This is, frankly, in my view, it's an abusive contracting practice. Why? Here's what indemnify and hold harmless means. It means that if you missed somebody else who asked for the exclusive license, buried 3 links down something, and you said yes, and they turn around and sue the Associated Press, you just gave the Associated Press permission to come after you to make you pay their lawyers' bills. And any damages or anything else they have to pay the people you gave the exclusive license to. Again, maybe you want to send your thing around the world, and that's fine. But let's do this. Here's how I would personally handle something if the Associated Press got on the phone with me. Let's say the Associated Press's lawyer, Jim, gets on the phone with me, and Jim wants to negotiate an agreement, and Jim wants an indemnity clause like that in there. Let's see. Here's how I think I would do that. Hey, yeah, Jim. An indemnity clause. All right, that's a big ask. Maybe that's not a deal breaker, but it's a big ask. What are you offering? Nothing. You're a funny guy, Jim. You're a really funny guy. No, seriously, what are you offering? Wait, you're serious? You're offering nothing? You want indemnity clause? You're offering... I mean, really. They want you to potentially agree to take on 5, 6, 7 figures of financial risk in exchange for allowing them the privilege to use your material in exchange for no money or credit. This is the kind of crap that gives lawyers a bad name. I mean, they're sticking this in front of people's faces. They're sticking it in their people's faces in a tweet, no less. And they're going, yeah, besides letting us use our thing for no money, we want you to agree to take on all of our legal risk financially if it turns out that you didn't really have the rights. That's unreal. Okay, so in all seriousness, let's talk about what you can do about it. I didn't really dig too deeply into the legal language on this one. This is going to be a short stream. We're going to be wrapping up fairly soon. There's not time to really dig into the boilerplate when it comes to contract languages and license languages. There's at least 2 books on the shelf behind me that get into that just for general licensing. I've got another one somewhere for social media stuff, and this isn't even stuff that I really practice on a regular basis or anything. It's the kind of area where there's potentially a lot that can be going on. So what can you do? What should you do is your call. I've been saying the whole time, there are a lot of good reasons you might want something on the news. Cool. What you should do, though, is read everything before agreeing to let anybody use your thing. If you think that they're asking too much, tell them no. Worst that's going to happen is they're not going to use it. Maybe they come back and make maybe they get real. Maybe they come back and make an actual offer. Because something to keep in mind here, your video might not have a lot of economic value. There's a good chance it doesn't have a lot of economic value. But if they thought it had no value, do you think they would be asking you for permission in the first place? I don't think so. They're asking you to use your thing because it's got some kind of value to them. If you're happy to let them use it, let them use it. If you're not happy with your terms, say, I'm willing to let you use it, but one time. Say, I'm willing to let you use it, but not under those terms. Again, what's the worst that happened? They walk away. They weren't going to pay you anyway. If it's the Associated Press, I would sure as hell say, I would sure as hell say, I am not going to indemnify you against anything. But again, that's me. In terms of language that you can use to reply to requests with beyond that, no, generally works. Now, newsworthiness is something that could give rise to a fair use claim. Maybe they'll decide to use your stuff anyway. If that happens, call a lawyer. because maybe it is fair use, but maybe it's not. A lawyer can give you a better idea on that one. A lawyer can make them get real quick when it comes to the decision of whether they're going to really go to the mat on fair use. And we'll talk about fair use on this stream plenty of times later on. Nobody wants to go to the mat on fair use unless they have to. Or whether they're going to start talking about, okay, how do we make it right? Do not delay if that happens. Get with a lawyer. Get with a lawyer quick. The longer you wait, this isn't one of those areas where you potentially have, several years before the statute of limitations runs out and nothing changes. With copyright, there's stuff with registration where the quicker that it can happen, the better the chance that you're going to have a good outcome. So if the news is using something, get with a lawyer, and you didn't give them permission and you don't like it, get with a lawyer quick. Google, copyright lawyer near me. Look them up. Avo, Martindale, there's a lot of different lawyer directories out there. A lot of them have ratings. Also Google the guy's name, because if it turns out that it's a lawyer who's got, I don't know, you might Google somebody and discover that, okay, they've got a few good Google reviews here and there, but apparently, according to these news articles, they've pissed off every judge in New York State in the last week or two. You might want to think about getting a second opinion or somebody different at that point. But find yourself that lawyer. Beyond that, freelancers hopefully have talked to a lawyer and worked out some boilerplate for themselves. And but most of these things are getting sent at people who they're not professionals, they're not experts. So the news is like, hey, let's ask these guys to just give us everything. If this is happening to you, please get smart fairly quick. Read what they're asking you. If you don't understand it, don't say yes. If you don't understand it, get in touch with somebody who can explain it to you. Get in touch with a lawyer. And make sure that you do understand, before you give away anything, what you're giving up and what, if anything, you're getting for it. With most of these things, you're not going to be getting anything. But again, sometimes that's the way to go. Anyway, that's me getting mad at the Associated Press, ABC, and NBC, several people who buy ink by the barrel, for trying to rip off people who film stuff that goes viral on social media. I'm going to wrap it up there for today. I'm going to try to put this up on YouTube a little bit later on, after I edit out those massive technical failures. Technically, I was the failure at the start of the show. And we'll see what happens after that. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for those of you who have stuck around through this thing. And I'm going to be back Thursday evening with another episode of Mike Gets Mad at Copyright. This time probably looking at an actual copyright case and hopefully not looking at new and even more abusive things that people have come up with in the last, few weeks. But hey, it's 2020, so I'm not going to bet against it. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have fun. Thanks for watching.